It's currently 9:56
p.m. The Los Angeles Dodgers became victorious in the 2024 World Series about 45 minutes ago, around 9:14 p.m. Shane is here.
I'm here. Welcome to the Kill Cooper podcast.
Yeah. So you got big plans tonight.
Yeah.
Unrelated to the Dodgers.
I would say that it's related to the Dodgers because these plans were made about around the time they won.
Did you, when you found out so this was after you found out the Dodgers won, you made this plan?
No, I made the plan before, but then I've been telling people that I'm just doing it to celebrate.
You should tell people that. It seems more normal.
Yes.
You're going to a strip club.
Yes.
Yeah, you're going to a strip club. And then when I asked who you were going with, I had so many guesses for who you were going with, and then you just looked at me like I was crazy and said, "I'm going alone." You said alone. Like it was the most normal thing to do. It would almost be more normal if you went alone during the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alone at night is interesting.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes you forget that I love seediness. I feel like sometimes it doesn't occur to you.
No. That occurred to me.
Yes.
It's just the
idea of going to a strip the thing isn't that you didn't know that it's just that you didn't know that going to a strip club alone is so common that I was confused when you asked me.
Yeah, I mean, are most guys alone?
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah. I guess, yeah. Okay, so it's one of those things where if guys are bringing their buddies, it's almost like not even what it's really for.
Yeah, I mean, I invited some people, and I invited one person, and they said they would, but they have to work.
Yeah. Damn. So you're going alone, and you don't want to talk about how much money you have on you?
I don't know. Motherfuckers might mug my ass. Motherfuckers might see me on the street and knock my ass out.
Because we can cut this part out.
All right.
Do you not want to talk about having $700 on you?
Yeah, I have $700 on me, and I'll probably come back with I'll probably only spend like $300 of it, to be honest.
Okay, well then that makes more sense. Because
I took the $700 and I was like, it's just in case I don't have enough, because you always have to prep for not having enough.
I mean, I know, I haven't been to a strip club. I know you need to. The reason I haven't gone is because I know you need to bring a lot of money.
Yes.
But when you said 700, I was like, 700, like in my head, I was like 300 could probably have you a fun time. But when you said 700, you kind of said it like, I'm going to spend all of it. Of course, I have to.
I don't know. I also haven't fully decided which one I'm going to go to. I might go to a nice one, or I might go to one in downtown.
I mean, yeah, that could be a huge price difference.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Gosh.
I found out the nice one, it's like the women there are very beautiful.
Well, yeah, I mean, in LA.
Yeah.
It'll probably be the hottest women have you been to a strip club out here?
Not out here.
So only in Nashville.
Nashville and Florida.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, probably going to be better out here.
Oh, I've been to one in Vegas.
Well, Vegas.
I think I've probably been to. Let's see.
How many strip clubs have you been to?
5.
Okay. Do you like those more than concerts?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I've probably explained my philosophy on strip clubs before on the pod.
I don't know. What do you like about them?
So here's what I think is the appeal of strip clubs.
Say your philosophy.
Which I've already probably said this on the pod.
I'm also not trying to be a stiff. I'm not against the idea of strip clubs. I thought it was funny you were going alone.
No, I didn't assume you were being a stiff.
Now that I know, it's very common to go alone, which does make sense to me. When you say it like that, I do understand. But your philosophy.
So I don't think you necessarily, I mean, this is a big part of it, but I don't feel like guys go for the women.
Okay.
I feel like guys go for the other men that are there.
How so?
Well,
to compete with them?
No. I'll say this. So I went to a strip club in Panama City.
So strip clubs are gay?
Kind of.
They're gay bars. Okay. But yeah, you went to a strip club in
Panama City. Panama City. I was with one of my best friends. And the first thing, there was naked women with their pussies out. We were able to drink whiskey there. We drank a fuck ton of whiskey.
Does that make it illegal?
No. Not in Florida.
It's legal there, pussy out and whiskey.
Yes, in Florida.
Crazy.
Florida's the only Florida, maybe Vegas. That's also true. I don't know though. But in Vegas, in Florida, that was you could do that.
Wow. And open carry, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Fully nude women, whiskey, open carry.
Yes. And the first thing my friend commented on is he saw a guy and he goes, "Holy shit! A member of the outlaw motorcycle gang is here."
Okay.
I feel like there's an element of danger you get to feel vicariously through being like, oh, I'm going to the same place these guys that like. If you're like a guy like me or a guy like my friend, those guys that were around when you grew up, but you always knew you had too many scruples to ever be.
Okay.
And they were also issues. They were issues in your life. So you kind of come away with this idolization of them while simultaneously having this immense disdain and hatred towards them. And there's a cognitive dissonance. And I think that's why a lot of men are obsessed with crime.
Do you think that's like all men or like men that grew up in your similar situation where you'd be around guys like a member of the outlaw biker gang?
I think it's a lot of men. I think it's a lot of men, but I also think that there is a difference. I do think a guy who maybe grew up in the like a nice suburbs and like became like a fucking suit, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like he'd also find the appeal of like not only are titties in my face, I'm near these rebels, you know? I'm around this symbol of freedom that I know that because of who I am, because of my adherence to mainstream morality, I'll never have that freedom.
Yeah, I mean, not to sound like a fucking gender theorist, but it's like you're like all like performing masculinity, and you're in like a physical boys club.
Absolutely,
and you're like it's really like we're all guys doing the guy thing here.
I think right now, especially in like 2024. Masculinity is basically, unless you are an actual criminal who like grew up in the hood and shit, your masculinity is performative. Even then, it's kind of performative, but it's like there's a deeper level of grit and authenticity to it. But I think it's like you know how like when you go on a date with a woman and as a man and you just pay for everything, even though you know you don't live in the world where that's a thing that matters anymore.
Yeah,
that's it's kind of similar to that, I think.
Yeah,
because we all know
you're like proving masculinity,
even though you know it doesn't exist.
Yeah,
but it's like when I go out with women, I pay for everything.
Right.
I don't let a woman spend anything, but it's like I kind of understand where it's like this is a lie we're both telling ourselves. Because the point of paying for everything is to just show that you can provide for them.
Yeah.
And that's not a thing that's like it's not a truthful thing right now.
Right, like that's not how you would both be making money.
Absolutely not.
You both have the money.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's also
and that's why
like
whenever I pay for a woman on a date, I look at her, I say, we both have the money for this date.
But I'm the one with the
pay.
balls. I'm the one with the balls to pull it out.
Yeah, I that's actually okay, yeah. So you shouldn't even make it a masculine thing. You should just be like, I'm the only one with the goddamn courage to pay for this meal. You won't even try and pay for this meal. You made no attempt at paying for this meal. And then she's like, well, I just thought you would. You're like, see, yeah, you fucking coward. You thought somebody else would step up and I had to be brave and pay for this meal, even though I don't have a fucking job. I lied.
I do not work for Google.
No, I don't. I was about to say Google. That's so funny. It is the funniest lie to just be on Tinder and be like, I work for Google. Gosh, we should just go on dates, but like not to have just to lie for one night, you know, and then like not even ghost them, you know.
Yeah.
Like, they just won't even want to talk to us again. But just be like, yeah, I work for Google, and then at the end, just be like, hey, I'm not from Nebraska. I don't have a job. I do fentanyl.
Also, these are lifts.
I'm wearing 20-inch lifts.
I am not 7'3".
I am 3'8". I am not 7'3". Your legs have been ricketing like metal and plastic hitting each other just the whole night. And she's like, I know you don't work at Google. Man.
Yeah, your Tinder profile picture is just a picture of your feet in stilts, and you're like, I'm 7 foot tall.
When you're at the strip club, you need to tell the strippers you work at Google. just like, I work at Google. Just all night, just keep saying that. Like, what?
I think I actually will.
Yeah, I know you will. That's why I told you. I'm excited to hear how it goes and what they have to say about it. Do you like talking to them?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that's got to be the big part of it.
You know what? You know what's interesting? Strippers are okay. So there's two people that like have very similar music tastes to me. Two types of people, and it is strippers and just regular Hispanic people. Those are the only two groups that I've seen be like, oh yeah, I love necro.
Okay.
I love horrorcore.
Yeah. Yeah, there is. Yeah. It's always the horrorcore. Yeah, it's just they both love the Smiths.
Oh yeah. It is funny how much Mexicans love the Smiths. I didn't hear the Smiths on radio until I moved out here.
Yeah. The oldies. Well, that, for some reason, that feels related. It's like Smiths and oldies.
Oh, I want to go back to the whole thing about paying for dates, because I have another theory about that.
Yeah.
I think that people push the trad thing, like some people are really into that,
mm-hmm.
and they think that what they like is traditional values, and it's like, no, you are like, this is BDSM, this is a fetish.
Oh, okay. So, like, because in that role, like, there's an obvious dominance by the man and a subservience from the woman. So it's like the whole thing is just a constant kind of act out.
Yes,
it's like a constant role play.
Yes, exactly. Because it's as I said, I mean, we live in a era where it's like not only does that not exist anymore, it's like we're so far gone from it that to even try to make it exist within your own relationship is a lie.
Well, they kind of admit that lie because all the trad influencers and everybody that like speaks about that lifestyle of like, we live on a farm and my wife has 8 kids and we milk cows and I just beat the fuck out of her or whatever the fuck they do. They're always like, yeah, this is a lifestyle that's gone away and everybody's gone crazy. And so that's why we do this. So they're like kind of admitting that it's like a choice to sort of act out that whole thing.
Yes.
Which is,
I will say,
is weird. It's like if you admit the lie, then you just think it's like truth. If you're just like, no, we're making a decision to elevate our minds.
Yes.
Or whatever. It's almost the same as like poly people, you know, but not because poly's, well, they say it's whatever.
It is funny though that beating your wife is that's traditional relationships and it's also BDSM.
Yeah. There is. Yeah, I wonder like those trad influencers and like those people living on farms wearing long dresses and suits. Like, do you think when they fuck it's like violent, or do you think they sort of like keep up the role play of like normal or not normal, but like detached, like Catholic missionary kind of brute sex?
I think it's just like, I feel like the amount of people that have rough sex would probably surprise both of us. Like, I feel like if we actually got a number, it would shock us.
I don't think it would shock me, to be honest. I feel like most heterosexual sex has like some hint of roughness and dominance that comes up.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Most sex I've had has been like the woman's wanted me to choke her and shit.
Yeah, just the way choking's really common.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that. So, I mean,
spitting in their mouths.
It's just a lot of stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's like when you do have sex, normal sex is normal. Like me and you are not guys that can, like, we don't have fetishes. Maybe, I don't know.
I don't really.
I have things I like, but I don't have like anything that is particular number one. You know what I mean? Like I'll lick a foot. I don't have like a foot fetish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm like just sort of in that, you know, just kind of, I don't even want to say regular, but I guess, you know what I mean? I don't have a weird thing I need to do. Even that kind of sex, there's a lot of wild stuff that happens in it. So then it's like, I feel like whenever I fuck, I'm like, hey, everybody's doing this.
Yeah.
Because I'm having normal sex right now. And there's like all this, like, we're choking and stuff. You know what I mean? And it wasn't like I'm not like a guy that comes in and I'm like, I'm a dom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't set out that framework, but
I always happen into the framework. But I
mean,
feel like if you asked me if that's what I preferred, that is probably what I would prefer.
yeah, I think, yeah, it's weird. It's like, are we doing all this? I don't know, because it seems to me that like most of the time, if you have sex with a woman, she'll ask you to do something like that.
Yeah.
That has a little bit, that's falling into a certain dynamic, which is a certain, dominant aspect. So then you do it enough, and that's what's normal to you. And then even the word prefer is interesting, because it's just like, well, it's the only water I've been given to drink.
I've had like, sex that wasn't like that.
Me too, but still.
I'd rather, let's see. I've had sex with women that are shorter than me, and it's not a thing. I don't like it as much. But the majority of women I've had sex with have been taller than me. And
what do you not like about the short?
I feel like it's too. I guess it is like the thing with the dom thing of you don't really feel like, if you're like choking a woman that's very short, you're like, well, a lot of people could do this. Everyone could do this.
Yeah, like, this is just sort of kicking a horse when it's down at this point. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And it's funny for me, if a guy who's 5'4" to be like, yeah, I don't really like dating women that are shorter than me that much.
Well, if you're 5'4".
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're 5'4", these women are probably 5.
Yes.
So that's a short person.
Yeah.
To the point where a lot of people would be like, they're a little short. You know what I mean? That looks a little too short for me. I think only certain kind of guys would be into a lady that short. And those kind of guys might have to be in protective custody in prison. You know what I mean? Like you're stepping into that, or maybe that's what you're feeling. But also, I think a lot of
that's not at all what I'm feeling. I don't think.
Well, maybe I don't know if it's a conscious thing. I think I don't know.
I think there is a subconscious part of me that's like that does have a little bit of like people like I feel like even talking to my friends, it's like, oh, they really don't want me to date a taller woman.
Why?
Well, I don't know. I've had comments from guys that are like, yeah, you need to find a really short woman, and it's like,
oh, well, that's their own fears.
Yeah, well, yeah, because it's in my thought. I feel like like society and all that shit's been telling me I need to do that, and my inherent psychology is if someone tells me I need to do something, I want to do the opposite of it.
Right. So you want to date the tallest woman in the world?
Yes, I want to date a 7-foot tall goddess.
God, you need to blow up in comedy and start dating a lady on the Sparks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some hot ladies on the Sparks, and they're like,
I just need to be
tall as fuck.
I just need to be, crawled up into a ball and then dunked.
Okay, keep going. I'm going to be back in 30 seconds.
Oh, explain it? Let me think. I don't know. I think maybe some people would think of it as being it's not a submission thing on my part at all. I feel like a lot of times when guys are into taller women, then they kind of fetishize it as that they get to be the woman, but I just don't feel that way at all. Because I feel like when most guys talk about that, but there's kind of that element to it.
I think it's
like, for me, it's like climbing a really big tree.
I don't think anybody really makes those kinds of decisions. Like, I don't know if anybody really makes the decision to date a woman that's a lot taller than them and then be in that kind of relationship. I think people meet and they start liking each other and they recognize this thing that she's a lot taller, and then they will sort of create a whole thing about it. You know what I mean? Like, after it's already happened, they're like, I actually like dating a taller, or like, or whatever.
Yeah. That's another thing I've considered about myself.
Not that they hate and they're lying. I'm saying that's only one way. They just inevitably, whatever situation you're in, you're gonna then like a lot of people, especially men, will like explain that like I actually meant to do all this, and it's just like your wife's just tall. That's all it is.
That's one thing I've noticed
act
though.
Like you were looking for this.
Also, that's one other thing I've noticed also because I'm shorter than the average height for a woman.
Yeah.
So it's like there's like very few options for me in terms of not dating somebody taller than me.
Yeah. I mean, you could date like Filipino women, maybe.
I guess so. But I'm racist. Fuck.
Oh, is that true? Is that tough?
It's tough being racist. In 2024?
Yeah. I mean, how does that work? Is that tough for job interviews?
I show up and I'm like, hey, guys, I'm sorry, but I would never date a Filipino woman.
Right. So
and they're like, hey, you can't work here at Filipino Woman Inc.
Right. I mean, yeah, I don't even know why you try to work at Filipino coffee roasters. Yeah, so you just...
They were the only people that would hire me.
You take the inclusion and diversity test and you're like, I can't answer that. And they're like, I'm not going to say it. What do you mean I can't?
I tried watching the diversity video and I was like, this is the opposite of what I do.
This is not what I think. You go back to your boss, you go, I watched it. I don't agree with any of that.
I looked up diversity on Wikipedia. What is that?
Oh my God. Wait, you guys want that in the office? That's going to cause...
Near me?
It's going to cause a huge fucking problem. Like, what are you talking... How are you not acquainted with it? I'm just saying, I didn't know you guys were doing that. That's going to blow up in your face. And he's like, you know, that video wasn't something you could disagree with. You're like, I did. And I'd love to work here, but not if those are the rules. We gotta be safe.
I haven't watched the sexual harassment video, but I'm sure I'm in for a rocky ride.
Comes in the next day, he's like, I mean, what the hell? How do you fuck? I thought I'd work in an office with all white people and I'd be able to fuck. And based on these two videos, this is not the place for me.
I used to have this joke about how I hated bosses. And so the only part of it that I really liked is I had a joke about like that usually job interviews the boss is like, you actually have to pay me to work at the whites only water fountain factory. And it's funny to me the idea of there being a whites only water fountain factory.
Yeah, and it's like Italian stonemasons. Like they come over from Italy and they're like, he's the best. They try their best on it.
Well, what about the seven dwarves and they're all just like, hi ho, on their way to the whites only water fountain factory?
Right, where they work all day.
Yeah.
To make the greatest water fountains they can for the white men. And then
And then there's the black only water fountain factory next door, and it's three guys, and they're all disabled.
Bunch of Tasmanian devils.
Trying to make the shittiest water fountain possible.
Yeah, it's just rocks. Gosh, that's rough.
That'd be crazy if you found out the like black water fountains, they like, you would turn it on and it'd be like it would be like the opposite of a shower where it's too hot.
I mean, were the water fountains themselves, you think, like, I'm sure they weren't well maintained, but like the actual units, do you think were different and worse? Because that just seems like almost impossible to, like, what, the water just falls flat, like it just doesn't shoot up?
Well, it doesn't really make sense there would be different water fountains otherwise.
Well, no, I mean, they want different water fountains because they didn't want to use the same facilities as them. But it's the same thing where it's like they would have like the whites only toilets, but it's like, how are you gonna make a toilet different? So it's like, I'm sure the bathrooms for black people, albeit worse, is there a
what if we found out though?
A hole?
What if we found out though that like,
did they make a toilet that flushes just a little bit worse to use it those times? What if we found out one?
What if we found out they like in the past the whites only water fountain like bathrooms and shit where they had like Japanese toilets that are like really nice, and then like in the black bathrooms they had to shit in a toilet, and they were just like, all right, we're gonna come to a compromise, and then we have the toilets we have now. They're just normal.
We had to get rid of bidets. They used to have,
They used to have bidets, and America was really European back then.
With warm water bidets, and there would be like a maid in there. She would just kind of moan while you took a shit.
Oh wait, I had another thing I was going to say about strip clubs. That Panama City strip club had this bathroom attendant.
Really?
He had a bathroom attendant. He would wipe your hand, he'd dry your hands for you.
What was he dressed like?
He was wearing like a suit.
Was it kind of like, did it cut off at the waist, almost like, did it have tails, or just?
No, it didn't have tails. It was just like, well, I don't know. I'm actually just assuming that because my memory doesn't remember how he was dressed.
What kind of person is this?
Like
an old man?
An older, like maybe a middle-aged black dude.
Middle-aged black dude. And
very charismatic, so it was like, it's impossible not to tip him.
Yeah.
It's impossible not to give him like $50.
So you're washing your hands, and then when you're done, is he like, oh, I'll dry them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He also gave me candy. He also had candy.
Yeah, they have candy in there a lot of time.
Yeah.
Which is always weird because it's candy from a bathroom.
Yeah.
Did he have the cologne?
No.
It is that the cologne is because they always have cologne with the bathroom attendants, but that's even funnier in a strip club. Be like, yeah, smell good for the girls out there. You want
the girls who want to fuck you.
That would be so sick if you had no money, but you just had cologne on and you just got lap dances all night. You're like, yeah, I'm just so cool, actually.
Oh, you know what movie you should see is Anora.
I saw a ad for it today.
It's dope. I think you'd fucking love it.
What is it? A horror movie?
No, it's a movie about a stripper who like does dances for this Russian oligarch's son, and they end up getting married, and then there's a huge problem when the family finds out. It's really good.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds fun.
It's also really funny.
Is it an American movie?
It is. It's the first American movie to win that award that I can't pronounce in France, the Palme d'Or.
The Arms?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
First American movie to win it since Tree of Life. That's a movie which I've actually never seen, but everyone that's seen it is like one of the greatest movies ever made.
I'm not watching enough movies.
Me either. I thought about going to see a movie with Kurt Steinmuller today, but then he was like, I can't, so then that led to the strip club plan.
Damn.
I was like sad earlier, and then I saw Kurt, and I was like, oh, that's exactly who I need to see right now.
Yeah, Kurt's the best.
Yeah. He's like one of the very few people where I see him and it like kind of brightens me up a little bit.
Well, yeah, he's very genuine. When you talk to him, the way he looks at you, he's really trying to tell how you're feeling.
He's like a puppy dog.
He's very invested, and I can relate to that, He's a lot. Kurt's great. Listen, sorry, I smoked a little bit of weed before this podcast. I feel slow, trying to drink coffee. I saw our friend Mikey McDonald tonight. He hosted a Flapper show.
Oh, Mikey hosted.
Yeah, it was fun.
Oh, hell yeah.
He did a great job.
Yeah, Mikey's great.
It got started good, and the comics were all talking sexual stuff. So when I started, I was like, damn, you guys like when the comics say wild stuff? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, I'm a ass retard. And they loved it. I was like, I'm just doing ass retard stuff, pretty much. And it is very funny when you're like, because, you really want to have some kind of riff to start a set.
Yeah.
Just be like, I can be in the moment, and that will definitely be the funniest thing. And then you have something like that where you're like, well, this is just saying bad words.
I think it's
great.
I love watching when you drop the F slur on stage, but you haven't gotten to the bisexual stuff. So people are like confused, but you're delivering it like, confident enough that they're like, I guess it's fine.
Sometimes I'll say it and then I'll mention that I fuck dudes, and it doesn't make anybody feel better. Because also, what I realize, and this is not to make any kind of victimizing point for anybody that's gay on stage, but like a crowd will be more comfortable with you saying than you talking about doing gay stuff.
Yeah.
They will be like saying it, they will be like, whoa, but they'll laugh way more and be way happier. But then if you like talk about doing gay shit, then is when it's like actual kind of a wall.
Yeah.
Where people kind of, and it is the funniest thing because it's like, I don't feel discriminated against or in danger at all, but it's like a funny example of like homophobia. Because I think the biggest form of homophobia is just a general otherness. Where if I was thinking about it recently, where it's like, there's really like, I feel like just never, Ellen is kind of the closest you get to a gay comic who is like generally accepted by the masses as like a standard normal person. I feel like if you talk about doing gay stuff on stage, especially as a man, you're almost immediately in a box of like crazy comics.
Yeah.
Like even like I can think of like all the gay dudes I'm thinking about, like even like just they're not even like talking about wild stuff on stage. Just if they are gay, then it's just automatically it's like, well, they're not like a regular comic like Louis C.K. or something.
Yeah.
Who he himself is not a regular guy.
Yeah.
But just because he's a straight white guy and he has children, then it's like, well, he's still, he's kind of one of us.
Yeah.
But then it's like, yeah, if you're doing gay stuff, it's like, oh, this is like listening to somebody. We are different people.
Yeah.
Which is very funny to me.
I love to see Jared Goldstein come out and then just be like, I'm not gay.
Yeah.
And he's so gay that the audience is laughing at that.
Yeah.
I almost feel like that takes away his, like, that feeling for the audience. That he's so obviously gay, but then he's just like, I'm not gay.
Yeah. You just tell him, I'm not gay.
Which is so funny, because everybody knows, and he does jokes about being gay, but he's still just like, I'm not.
Well, there's like a certain thing where it's just like, I think people, if they do like a gay comic, and they're like like the normal, like mainstream, like white, Christianish audience that every comic wants to appeal to be famous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If they like a gay comic, usually what they like about him is like, yeah, well, his whole thing isn't about being gay.
Yeah.
Or like, he's gay, but he's a guy you can talk to.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Or like, and I do understand that on a stand-up level, where it's like, yeah, this guy's not being rude to us.
Yeah.
Or whatever, or he's not talking about shit we don't care about. But there is sort of like there's always like a certain like one of the good ones kind of factors when it comes to, I think, talking about anything that's like different than like the general society.
Oh, there was two things I was thinking about, speaking of the one of the good ones thing.
Because that's what I do on
thinking
stage. I talk about gay shit, but I act straight.
So there's two things that bug me about stand-up. And one's a joke I think is hacky that I've heard a couple people do. And the other is just a way I've heard comedians talk about other comedians. But I hate it when a comic is disabled and other comics are like, oh, that's all they talk about. Because, like, we're all complainers.
Yeah.
If you were disabled, that is all you would talk about.
It's also, think about how hard it is to get off that topic. Because
Yeah.
you have to start on your disabled material. There's no, like, let me start on something simple. Like you have to address it.
Yeah.
And then, then to get out of that, like, literally you have to see the audience be like, oh, I guess this is a story not about being disabled. Of just like, I was at a restaurant one time, and then the whole crowd's like, oh, you get a special table or something?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wait, that's not what the joke's about? Like, doing that, yeah.
And the other one is a joke, which I'm sure I've heard it on Twitter, I've heard it on stage, or I've seen it on Twitter, and I've heard it on stage. I hate when people call rap like, they're like, oh, they're writing their little poems or something. Like, they try to feminize rap. To me, I think that's like, it's kind of like, you know how that thing about, like, people are like, talking about show business puts, like, black people in dresses?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's like almost somebody saying, like, yeah, black people should be in dresses. And that's why they're feminizing, like, fucking rap.
Do you think that's a thing you see a lot, or is that just
It's a thing I've seen at least 3 or 4 times.
I think there's also just a common thing too with anything that's like how rap can be like kind of like hyper masculine. I feel like there's always like a group of people who are like, it's actually gay.
Yeah.
It's like always like anything hyper masculine is like huge cars, or like it seems like a common stand-up joke to be like, no, those guys aren't actually tough. Like, and then they describe what they do, but from a different perspective.
Yeah.
How it's like just all gay, where it's like, oh, rappers aren't tough. It's like they love jewelry.
Yeah.
And fur coats. You know who else does? Gay guys. Or they have a whole group of men they hang out. You know who else does that? Gay guys. And it's like always kind of...
I like the description of it, makes it sound even lamer.
Yeah, so you just re-describe it.
Yeah.
As a
you
gay.
just re-describe it, but it's gay.
Yeah.
Which is all the smartest comedians do.
Which a lot of comedy is just being like, you know that thing you like? It actually sucks. Or it's not that. Or it's gay.
Yeah, I guess a lot of comedy is just, what is something... I'm, like, confused by something everyone else thinks.
Yeah. And there's a lot of just, I don't know.
But I do that a lot. I started out my set at Potluck, like, 2 weeks ago by saying, fuck firefighters. And then I explained, like, firefighters, like, what they do as though it's viewed by... Like, through my persona, kind of, like I'm confused by this normal thing.
What don't you like about firefighters?
Well, the joke is that I don't like that they bring that big hose into your house and they spray down everything you own, destroying it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I called you to save my stuff, not avenge it from the fire.
They get it all wet.
Yeah.
They get all your shit wet.
I actually did that joke in Nashville one time, and a bunch of firefighters came up to me, and they were like, hey, man, we loved that joke. We're firefighters. When we go into buildings, we just love to destroy shit.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's all destroyed anyway, right? So I guess they're just having fun, like breaking a table with high-powered water.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's fun. I do get it. We should join a firehouse.
We should be volunteer firefighters.
I would like to be a volunteer firefighter.
People will think we're so cool if we're a volunteer firefighter. Like, regular firefighters, you're like, those guys are lame. They're doing it for the money. Volunteer firefighter, you're just doing it for the love of fires.
It would be funny to be a volunteer firefighter, but like not ever go to the fires. Like the one time you get called, you don't show up. You're like on a date with a girl. You're like, yeah, I'm a volunteer firefighter. Then you finally get the call and you're like, oh, fuck, I don't want to go. I want to go fight a fire. I'm not going to do that.
A volunteer firefighter, that's such a funny thing to be. Especially when you factor in the fact that regular firefighters get paid. And these guys are just like, my passion is just stuff not being on fire.
Well, it's also like if you're a volunteer and they call you in, it's probably a terrible emergency.
Oh, yeah.
But then once you get called in, you're not going into the fucking fire. They'll have you outside and be like, just stand near the hose.
Yeah.
Like you're probably like the fifth guy.
And you're just standing next to Steve Buscemi.
Right. You get to be with Steve Buscemi on 9/11.
Yeah.
You get to watch Steve Buscemi die on 9/11. They
That
cloned
is-
him.
Damn. Doesn't it suck that Steve Buscemi is one of the most talented actors in the world? But I feel like we're just like, that ugly dude.
Yeah. Steve Buscemi and Paul Giamatti.
Yeah, Joe Pesci.
You think Joe Pesci's the greatest actor in the world?
Joe Pesci's very good.
He is good. It is tough to judge like an actor like Joe Pesci because he's just always Joe Pesci, I feel like, in every movie.
Oh, yeah. Well, they found him. He was perfect. He was perfect for the role, his most famous role, which is him in Home Alone. I can't really think of any other roles, but Home Alone. He worked with that director. He's worked with him a lot. But that's the only director I can think of that he's worked with a lot is the director.
What director is that? Who directed Home Alone?
That guy.
Yeah. That's the only one you can think of, though?
Yeah.
Did he do anything after that, Joe Pesci? Or is that the only film?
He was in something. Something like...
Yeah, what do you think it was about?
Probably a kid was home alone.
Okay, you think he did another thing with a kid who was home alone?
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know if he did that well in that role, because he was replaced.
Well, they couldn't get him anymore after he got so big from being the guy from Home Alone.
Well, you think they'd want him back if that's what he got big from.
Well, they probably couldn't afford it anymore.
So he got so big from the one movie he was in that the only movie he was in could not afford to have him in another movie, which somehow was beneficial to him to turn down that role.
We probably had so much money at that point.
He didn't even need it.
Yeah, he
It's
didn't
like trying
need
to
it.
get Flo in another Progressive commercial.
Yeah. I wonder. I feel like Joe Pesci's been in a commercial before.
I don't know. He seems like a Bob Dylan type, where it's really hard to get him to do anything he doesn't want to do.
Oh, you know what? George Carlin has a bit. George Carlin mentions being really good friends with Joe Pesci, and that Joe Pesci was in some sort of commercial, and that's like the one commercial he lets him.
Okay.
That's the one actor he's like, yeah, you can do a commercial. That was a thing back in the 90s where they were like, these actors are doing commercials. Isn't that horrible? Bill Hicks has that bit. George Carlin has a bit.
Why the fuck does Bill Hicks give a fuck if an actor's in a commercial?
When he says that they sucked Satan's dick or something.
Yeah, they're actors.
Yeah, but he cares a lot about stuff that he shouldn't really care about.
Well, it's like, yeah, he does the whole like political thing and stuff, but then he's also like, actors are in commercial. Oh no, is the film industry all about money? Are you telling me these actors will
I think part
do
of Bill
anything
Hicks
for enough money?
Part of Bill Hicks's thing though is idolizing like a lot. Like he idolizes a lot.
Like he's like disappointed in the actors because he thought they were better than that.
He has at least 5 bits, at least 4 I can think of where he is like, there's like, he talks about a hero of his or something, and he's like kind of disappointed. The Jay Leno one, where he talks about how fun, he was like, Jay Leno used to be funny, and now he's just a dollar sign.
Yeah, he's just kind of a guy that like can't get over that like shit sucks.
Yeah.
Kind of feels like, it's like, it's almost like, is there a point to that, or are you just personally struggling with that? Which is what I try not to do on stage, but I do a lot. I had a bad set where these guys you were there.
I was there.
Yeah, I screamed. I just like ranted for like the last 5 minutes of the set because there were 3 guys talking.
I thought it was really funny.
People laugh at it, but I think people laugh at me like they're laughing at me, not with me.
But you said some funny things. You know what's funny about that is I walked in the room and I was like, all right, I'm going to ask Cooper to give me a ride up the hill. And then afterwards I thought, I was like, oh, Cooper probably wants to be left alone a little bit.
I wasn't even that angry. I was like, my heart was beating very fast. And for me, it was a big personal failure if I get that angry. Because then it's just like, then I just feel like I'm just doing the thing that it's like, yeah, dance and fucking get mad. But after that happened, somebody at the store texted me. It was like, yeah, it was like a Bill Hicks thing. And I was like, oh, that sucks. I really don't want to be, because it's like, I think Bill Hicks was important for stand up, but like I don't think he's funny. And
I think he is funny. He's just so like influential. It's like, he doesn't seem funny. It's the same with fucking Bruce, but I think Bill Hicks, I would describe him as a virtuoso. Like, he's a guy who can do any style of comedy.
So he like chose the hardest.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I see a lot of that where it's like, I definitely see that where it seems like he's almost like he is. And I do feel this way where you do get sick of having to kind of like Brian Holtzman says, baby fuck people, where you have to like go easy on people. And like, people get so sensitive about anything that's not like a joke about dog food.
Yeah. So
it does seem like a lot of his jokes he's sort of over that, where he's like, I don't want to have to fucking wait for you. Like, these are what the joke's about. Like, kind of keep up, I wouldn't take the Bill Hicks thing as an insult. I didn't take it as an insult. It was given as a compliment. It was a very nice message, but sometimes you get called, like, people say you're similar to other comics, and you're like, I feel like that doesn't...
Well, what they're talking about isn't necessarily that you're similar so much as... Well, the Hicks thing is, you can't really have Hicks without having Hicks, like flare-ups like that for him. And that's kind of... I think you just kind of have to look at it, even when you feel bad about your anger, that it's like, I wouldn't be me if it wasn't for this.
Sure. But then it's just always a battle where you're like, you don't want to be the guy that's like, I go up and I just get fucking pissed and rant. Because also, that has been done a million times in stand-up. So it's like, there are still guys that are hyped up on like trying to be like a Hicks or like a Lewis Black, kind of, who's very good at... Lewis Black was the first comedian I liked. People still doing that. It's just sort of like, well, it's just been done. So it's like, even the crowd knows what you're doing. Like when Hicks was doing that, and then even Lewis Black, I feel like the crowd was still kind of like, whoa, like, this is different. You know what I mean? This is surprising. But now it's like you do it, and I feel like people have enough awareness that they're like, oh, he's doing the thing, and they kind of treat you the same as if you were doing like a more calm version of stand. You know what I mean? Like, it's not actually wild anymore. Because people know what it is.
That's very true.
Maybe they always have, though. Maybe they've always just been kind of applauding like the funny performance of anger.
You know what's interesting about Hicks that I've thought about a lot? Hicks is very notable as being a road guy, because I feel like he took comedy that if you didn't live in LA, or if you didn't see specific performers in New York, you just would not see in the rest of the country. He really was like... it was like no one had done rock music before in Arkansas, and then somebody showed up doing it.
Yeah, I mean, and that must have been absolutely insane at that time, because it's like when I'm like taken on the road and I go to places like, like Arlington, Virginia, or Jacksonville, Florida, like, even when the sets go well, people will be like, that was brave.
Yeah.
Or like, that you were really raw up there.
Yeah.
Or like, it was surprising to them to hear the things I said in 2024.
Yeah.
Which it is, like, you would be surprised the amount of times that when I mention that I do gay stuff, somebody will be like, what?
Yeah.
Like, they'll be surprised. People are still like surprised that it exists or that I could do that, So it's like, imagining doing anything Bill Hicks was doing of like anti-American jokes in the fucking 80s or whatever. That must have been insane, because it's like, it's still crazy. It still feels crazy for me to do some of the material I do in 2024. So it's like him doing it like literally like 30 to 40 years ago. For the very first time.
What you're talking about reminds me of when I started comedy, and I was considered like the biggest edgelord in all of Nashville. But all it was is, it wasn't even really that offensive so much as it was very dirty. It's still basically the same thing I do now.
Yeah.
But when I moved to LA, it's like the edgelord perception kind of dropped, because people were able to look past the dirty content into just the fact that it is comedy and it isn't just trying to be shocking, where it's just like the fact that it is just going up and cussing. Going up and cussing in the majority of the country is still like insanely edgy.
Yeah. No, it really is surprising what most people in the country are surprised to hear.
Yeah.
Because it's really outside of like LA, New York, and maybe parts of Chicago. It's people most of the time in stand-up will respond to you like you're just saying that in polite company.
Yeah.
Where they're surprised the fact that you are saying it at all, even though they bought tickets to a comedy show. And so much of talk about comedy now, with like you were talking about before the podcast, like how big like right-wing comedians are. So much that regular people hear about comedy is this whole thing of like, it's crazy, it's free speech, get red, don't be a pussy.
Yeah.
I feel like most people that are not comedians, when they think about stand-up comedy, most of the information they get is that.
Yeah.
You know, of like, it's fucking crazy. And yet, when you go up and say wild stuff, people still be like, whoa, I can't believe you said that. And you're like, are we still surprised?
You know
I think
who's
that's the Hicks thing. It's like, he was like, are you still surprised?
My family, I will say, and I think part of the reason I am the way I am, is my family is weirdly understanding towards vulgarity, and they have very vulgar senses of humor. I remember my Nana, like, I guess my Nana showed up to a show I was on, and I had no clue about it. And I remember she was just telling me, like, you know, I get that it's a performance and it's an art, you know? She said that, and this is just this Christian, really Christian woman, like, very sweet old woman, who was basically just like, no, yeah, you don't have to worry about saying dirty things, because I get that it's an art.
Yeah. You're saying the dirty stuff for the art. Why do you think she gets it?
I think it's because she grew up poor. I think a lot of that is.
Yeah, do you think it's just because if you grow up poor, you'd probably just hear more people talking more wildly, so you know it exists. And if you're born in like a richer conservative thing, it's like it's really seen as wrong to talk that way. And you're taught how to talk if you're born into like rich, like the richer you are, the more you are taught how to act. To like at the very top, they take like, you know, manners, cotillion and manners classes and shit.
You know what area I find the hardest to do stand-up in is the Midwest. Yeah, the Middle East.
It is
Midwest.
It's
the Midwest for me is really difficult because the Midwest is more like middle class. I feel like the comedy audiences are more middle class for the most part, or they're middle class and they have very limited perception of poverty, and I feel like there's a segregation in the Midwest that's like I feel like that's the most segregated area, and like in economic and racial way. And I feel like the South, they're down to get. The South also has like a thirst for the grotesque, like,
yeah.
And I feel like it comes from just like the conditions you grow up in a lot of times.
Yeah, I mean, in my experience, I enjoyed Jacksonville way more than somewhere in Oklahoma. Not Oklahoma City. What's the Tulsa?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tulsa. Oh wait, no. Tulsa was okay. But yeah, I find a thing that, yeah, in the Midwest like that, like they got stuff, like they have like a car that they like and they can afford a house and they're kind of proud of that, of like, you're an idiot for living in LA. I have all this stuff. And when I go to certain places where people are kind of like middle class and comfortable in that way, I feel like they look down upon me of like, oh, you think you're better than me? I got, you know, because like the middle class's dream is just like to have the stuff rich people have.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like basing the success of themselves and their lives and how much they're worth off of having that stuff. And so if I'm up there being all like fucking LA and telling the jokes I tell, I feel like sometimes they're just like, they discriminate you because it's like, well, you're not normal like us. They're very and I'm not even like, I don't even sound poor, but just not being in that zone of liking that normalcy is when they're like, you fucking weird. You know what I mean? They're like proud of how meaningless their lives are. They go to a Chili's, they all have a fucking Tesla.
Another thing I would say is weather. Weather's a big difference too, because the Midwest gets so cold that horrible things don't happen in the street. Even in the South, you'll see horrible things just happen in the street. And in LA, it's like, basically every part of California, because of the homeless problem, you'll see all this insane stuff. So I feel like people in LA are more likely to be fine with you talking wild.
Yeah.
Like, because they're just, even if they are from a middle-class household, they've seen people taking shits on streets or attacking somebody and that's also, I remember in the South. I mean, I was telling you about this of like seeing people just walking down the street with guns and shit, like walking down the street with machine guns and shit.
Right.
Like there's this homeless guy who wore a dress, and I saw him get arrested in front of my job one time. And this homeless guy, his name was like Mr. something. It was one of those that starts with an LY. But yeah, he was just walking down the street. Yeah, he was
my father.
Yeah, he was walking down the street wearing a dress, holding a gun. I saw a cop point a pistol at him and then, arrest him.
Well, it's good they didn't kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, it almost feels like if you live in a wild city, seeing somebody say wild stuff on stage is like a controlled fire. Whereas like you're seeing fires every day, but this one's like not, burning up. But then if you go to like a place where people are very comfortable and have like nice lives, then it's like, they're like, holy shit, I can't believe this is happening. This has never happened to me. You do talk to some people. It was in like North Carolina. It was like a bunch of kids like my age that would be at the show, our age, and they were like all married, and so it's just like, even just talking about, you're like, yeah, I live in a studio apartment. I make like, I have a dead end job. I'm like pursuing a kind of a dumb career. They're like, that's insane.
Yeah.
I can't believe you do that, and we're not even crazy guys.
I think some people would consider us kind of crazy guys.
Yeah, which is interesting to me.
It is kind of strange.
I mean, it's like our decisions make sense. It's like you look at like the current job market. People go to school, get good degrees, get good jobs, and then still can't like really afford a house and a car like that easily, if ever, for a lot of people. So
I feel like if you graded us on a curve, we're two of the most normal guys we know.
Yeah.
If you like took everything that I saw and experienced as a kid and then just was like graded me on a curve based on all that, you'd be like, this is like, the fact this guy isn't insane is crazy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, on the curve, with all taken into account, you're like the most gentle person in the entire world.
Yeah,
Imagine if you were born into like a soft family.
Oh, yeah.
You might be the softest guy in the world. Or that would make you a meanie.
Yeah.
Maybe if you had like a pampered lifestyle growing up, you'd be like a dickhead.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I was kind of a dickhead before. Like, I was probably kind of a dickhead until I moved here.
Yeah.
I'm still kind of a dickhead, but like...
You gonna tell the strippers you're a dickhead?
I'm a dickhead and I work for Google.
I'm a fucking dickhead, but I do work for Google, so... Do you want to go on a date tomorrow? Nope. What do you like to talk to strippers about?
It just kind of depends. We'll talk about other clubs. We'll talk about, like, what they do.
What they're
music.
Into.
We talk about music.
Do they... What are like... What would you find are like the common goals of most strippers? Like, do they all want like a certain other career? Like, do they want to be musicians a lot of time, you find? Do you find those things out? Like, what's your dream?
No, I don't really usually find that out.
Well, that's good.
I also, like, until... Yeah, I usually be fucking hammered drunk, too.
Yeah, is this your first time going to a strip club sober?
No, but this is the first time I would go to one and spend money. Like sober.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you really got to have money to go into a strip club.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think is like the minimum you can walk in with?
Probably what you said, $300.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, I feel like, I don't know. I haven't been to a strip club. For me, it kind of sounds like playing poker, where it's just like, I feel like I'm paying a lot of money just to hang out, and then I go home kind of empty-handed. Which is like, I guess a dumb thing, but I don't know. I feel like I would just go in there, and then you're like, is this worth it? I don't know.
You think you'd talk about the strippers about Israel and Palestine?
I mean, I just feel like, yeah, I'd be a bummer in the strip club. I think that's the real reason I don't want to go. I don't think I'd really be a good member of the team.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what you're good at. You can look at some stuff and be like, I don't think I can do that, Like gymnastics, I don't think I can do that.
That would be funny. That would be funny, though, if we had like a strip club squad and you were like geopolitics. You were the geopolitics guy.
Right. So when the stripper is sort of sick of all the passé conversation, she can come to me for some knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll talk about what...
Yeah, we got me, the wild one, Mikey, the normal one, Cooper, really into foreign policy.
Yeah, I'll be like, so Bitch, you interested in the most recent BRICS summit? They're trying to replace the U.S. dollar because the West has kind of been pushing Russia and China, and Iran closer together. How do you feel about that? And she'd be like, I don't know. My boyfriend, like, he's Middle Eastern. I'd be like, wow.
One of the funniest, I had a stripper on my lap one time, and it kind of hurt because she got a text from her boyfriend, and she, like, freaked out, happy. Because she was like, my boyfriend's going to show up. She kind of ground into me in a way that did not feel good.
She, like, kind of put that in your face, you feel like?
No.
What do you mean ground?
No. Like, grinded herself into me.
Okay.
Yeah.
She was so excited about her boyfriend coming.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, so, yeah, it physically hurt.
No, yeah, it didn't hurt my feelings.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I was like,
Yeah.
Are you saying it hurt your feelings to find out the stripper didn't like you and had a boyfriend?
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Right. Her boyfriend would have been pissed to know she was grinding on the realist. I mean, usually he'd be fine with her job. He's already made amends with it, but not if it's outlaw comedian Shane Bianchi.
That must be crazy. I've gone on dates with strippers before, but it must be crazy to actually be in a relationship with one.
Yeah, I mean, even without the jealousy, it just seems interesting to be like, how was your night?
Yeah.
You know, because it could be like a really tough night.
And she's like, I had to suck this dude off, and he came in my mouth, and he made me put a finger up his ass and stuff.
Right. How much does that cost in a strip club?
I honestly don't know.
Does that happen in most strip clubs? Can you get a blowjob in like most all strip clubs?
You really have to finagle your way. You have to like kind of know how to talk. I wouldn't know how to do it.
Really?
Yeah.
So you have to be like, hey, is there anything else going on here?
You have to be like a guy, probably.
Is there food in the back?
Yeah, I also probably wouldn't have the balls, honestly. I feel like when you if you pay a woman for sex, that's just like a Pandora's box you can't close.
You think you'd do it again and again?
I think you'd always know that you're that guy. You know, it's like when you cheat on somebody, but like, it's like, yeah, you're not going to do it again, but you always did it.
But you did.
Yeah.
You did. You are a cheater.
Yeah.
It's like being an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, having paid for sex, I feel like is sort of a BCAD in somebody's life.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, I'm not a button-up guy.
Yeah.
Even if, yeah. But it's weird. It's like, you think about the amount of like, fucking like rich like finance dudes that like regularly fuck prostitutes.
I kind of, I kind of do understand why they do that. Because I feel I don't understand why they do it as in like, if I was in that situation, I'd do it. I mean, I like looking at it kind of empathetically. I think that they fetishize money to the point of it being a sexual relationship in their life. I feel like it's as much the fact that they're paying a woman. And I also think it is like the depravity of it.
It is funny. You like money so much. You want money involved with sex.
Yeah.
Regular sex is cool, but I'd love if there was a cash transaction involved. I love if we were moving money in the midst of this. Yeah. I mean, it's like kind of like we're talking about with the strip club thing. It's like proving the masculinity where you're just like, I can have anything I want.
Yes.
This lady's hot as hell, and she will 100% have sex with me because of how much money I've made. I can do that because I've made this much money. This is who I am.
Last time I was actually trying to write something out. I was trying to plot something. I was like trying to come up with this character, and one scene that I thought of that I felt like summed his character up was him just like haggling with a prostitute, even though he doesn't know he knows he's not going to do it, and just finding out how much money that he would need to spend. And then he leaves and he just pulls that amount of money out of his pocket and jacks off.
Yeah.
Jacks off and then eats it.
What's that for? Is that a script you're writing?
That was a novel idea I had.
And that's the main character.
No, but that's a pivotal character. That's like probably the secondary protagonist.
Okay. I like him.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
I was trying to write I was going to. I'm still probably will figure out what to do with this at some point. But it's that thing I told you about with the like fucking soft white underbelly, people trying to start a soft white underbelly, but the homeless people keep getting killed.
Right. Well, look out for that. Shane's novel coming in 2 to 6 years. That's a good timeline. That's enough time. You got time.
Yeah. I do have to write a script, and I probably start on that next year.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
Shane's movie's coming out soon. Shane's got a book coming out.
It is crazy how many movie ideas I have. I got a manager, and I was like, fucking, all right, I got to come up with all these movies.
And you got a billion ideas.
I have 3 ideas.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
3 movies could make you a lot of money. You should get them all made.
That
would make you so much money. It'd really help out the fucking podcast. Jesus Christ.
It is funny. All of my movie ideas are shit that like probably would never be like made.
I don't know. You really don't know.
Yeah, I've been having this idea that this is such a stupid thing to talk about on a podcast. So, but I thought it'd be an interesting idea to make a mockumentary about like a lower level guy who got Me Too'd. Like, but not a real guy.
Right.
But like just kind of charting the life of this guy and his attempt to fucking like not be like what's it called? Whatever. And just kind of dealing with just humanizing, yet also like showing how shitty this guy is, and also kind of making you think about, because it's a fake fucking documentary of how people platform these people.
Yeah, just a shot of him trying to walk back into the comedy club, and they're like, no!
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of it as being a fucking comedian or anything. Like a really low-level guy. Like a very low-level guy in the entertainment industry.
Even just a local cancel.
Yeah.
Town cancel.
Well, I just thought of it as being like a guy who... I mean, it's based on one real person, so... Who I'm not going to talk about.
We will have on next week.
We will have him on. So check out for that if you've caught up with any movie theater manager cancellations. We will be having that one on.
Okay.
We will be having that movie theater manager who got canceled on the next week.
Yeah, that's a tough go.
Yeah.
You're managing a movie theater.
And then getting canceled.
And then you get canceled.
Yeah.
You're like, what? My life sucks.
Yeah.
I can't even manage a movie theater? And they're like, no.
Yeah. But
damn.
Anyway, I think the episode's over.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for tuning in. Come back next week.
Yeah,
please.
Next week we're going to have a Comedy Store Door guy, Ramsey, who I've not talked to about this yet.
Well, somebody else also wanted to come on the podcast. We might have a doctor on next week.
Okay, we might have a doctor.
If you still want to do that. We'll see. Next week.
Yeah.
So
if you want to check it out, I hope you watch the whole episode so you can kind of see what sort of shit we do.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah. Anyway, if you come on the podcast, we'll kill you. All right, bye.
Fuck off and die.